Well, Politico is reporting that some Republicans as well are distressed by Trump's anti-immigrant rallying cry, believing it could backfire on their candidates. According to a Republican campaign official, Trump is solidifying swing voters who were already leaning Democratic and are now definitely going to vote for Democratic candidates. Yet this president seems intent on fanning the flames of division, no matter what the consequence. We've already seen in the politically and racially motivated violence of last week that the forces of hate are emboldened in this country. But rather than heal the divisions that might provoke similar violence, this president instead blames the media.
Half of Americans say you're encouraging politically motivated violence the way you speak.
No, you know what? You're creating violence by your questions. You are creating you. And also, a lot of the reporters are creating violence by not writing the truth. The fake news is creating violence. And you know what? The people that support Trump and the people that support us, which is a lot of people, most people, many people, those people know when a story is true and they know when a story is false. And I'll tell you what, if the media would write correctly and write accurately and write fairly, you'd have a lot less violence in the country.
Well, joining me right now is Heidi Przybyla, a national political correspondent for NBC News. Donna Brazile is the former chairwoman of the DNC, and Michael Steele is the former chairman of the RNC. Boy, we got the heavyweights here. I want to start with Donna, though, because this is really the battle of the bugles, or the battle of the tubas. I mean, the president out there wants fear to work. It's worked for him. It got him the job. And Democrats are bringing back the sort of the nice voices of Oprah Winfrey. Hopefully uplifting. And Barack Obama's always been uplifting.
Yeah.
Who wins?
I think hope and change, hope and civility. Democrats are riding on a wave of hope. They believe that they can not only galvanize Democratic voters, but bring independents who might be leaning toward Democratic candidates over the threshold by being positive, by talking about health care, by talking about education. They want to avoid this politics of fear because they believe it's corrosive, that the American people are tired of it, and they are confident that they can get their voters out with a real positive, hopeful message about the future.
And when has that worked before? Just compare history.
2006, it worked in that midterm. If you go back to 1998, when Bill Clinton was being impeached, it worked then because people decided not to focus on the top of the ticket, but go down to the bottom and reach people where they live. I think it will work this time.
So why did fear work in 16? Because it did.
Fear worked because there were many people echoing that fear. We had the Democratic Party face a huge onslaught of weaponized emails from the Russians. We couldn't get our message out. We know in 2016 we had a hard time reaching people, but this time Democrats are knocking on doors that have not been knocked on in probably 4 years.
Heidi, I have my own theories. The people voted against the establishment in 16, and right now they're going to vote against Trump. Your thoughts?
Look, I think there is no question that the Democrats have to do this. They have to pull out their heavyweights, because you look at these hugely consequential races like in Florida and Georgia, the coalition that they need is the old Obama coalition. You bring in Oprah, you are speaking to those minorities, you are speaking to those liberal white women, and the polling, internal polling shows that they've actually been depressed. All of this negativity is actually depressing them. So they need something positive. But at the same time, I was in Southern Virginia just yesterday, and I think that you're also right about the president's message pushing some of these swing Republicans, some of these moderate Republican voters. I talked to a panel of these moderate Republican voters. They had all voted Republican most of their lives. Now they're voting for the Democrat because they say we need a check on Trump. They didn't even actually know much about the Democratic candidate. They just knew that we needed a check on Trump. Now, that said, we've had such massive increase in voter registration. It's just hard to tell which way it's going to break. The pollsters I talked to say our models are all based on previous voting behavior, and so it's hard to tell. It's going to come down to the wire.
You know, Mike, what's so interesting, if you look at commercial power in this country where the money is, the beer commercials are always mixed. It's always a bunch of guys hanging at a bar, white and black guys. In fact, that's the way they sell beer right now. It used to be always white guys, of course. And I looked at that thing today down in Florida, and I am actually very emotional about politics. There's Bill Nelson, probably for his last hurrah, in there for his last election. And who are his coattails? An African-American mayor of Tallahassee. This is pretty striking.
Yeah.
His coattails. The white guy, depending on I don't want to get too ethnic about this, but it's fascinating to watch this thing go on down here.
But Chris, you should, because that is at the rub of the whole thing. The white power structure, such as it is shifting. It's changing. It is becoming more diverse. It is looking more and more like Andrew Gillum and
like a beer
Stacey
commercial,
Wright, and like a beer commercial than the old established order, which is what Donald Trump is hearkening back to. Republicans still cling on to that. I ran into this when I was at the RNC with people who, when we went to Harlem, they're like, well, why would you go to Harlem? It's like, well, that's where the votes are.
That's right.
That's where the votes of the party are.
Yeah.
But there are people who still hold on to this idea that particularly white male vote, which is an angry vote, which is a scared vote. It's afraid of the future in many respects. Trump speaks to that in an authentic way.
Apparently it is authentic.
Yeah, that politics.
Here's the awful part.
Yep.
Maybe it is authentic. In an explosive report in Vanity Fair coming out today, former Trump lawyer. Now, you got to be careful about this guy. He's got an attitude now. He's speaking out about the kind of language he says Trump has used in private. While Cohen now has an interest, of course, in bringing down Trump. I want to emphasize that. He says that in light of the president's recent rhetoric, quote, he wanted to offer potential voters what he believed was evidence of Trump's character. Cohen says that in speaking to Trump about the crowd at one of his campaign rallies, quote, I told Trump that the rally looked vanilla on television. Trump responded, that's because black people were too stupid to vote for me. On another occasion, Cohen says that, quote, Trump said to me, name one country run by a black person that's not an S-hole. You can fill in the word there. And then he added, name one city. He's talking about America, of course. Speaking of an African-American contestant on The Apprentice, Cohen says that Trump said, there's no way I let this black expletive win. In other words, it's rigged. A source inside the Trump organization told NBC News Cohen's allegations were more lies from a serial liar. Okay, fine. Heidi, you're the straight reporter here. How do you unpack this stuff? I think there's something there. I mean, but then again, I know if it comes from Cohen, it probably smells in terms of interest. His interest now is bringing down Trump.
It's not going to change anybody's minds, but for those people who are already, believe that the president actually thinks like this and talks like this.
Then the guy, the white guy who has that attitude says, yeah, he's one of us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right?
Well,
I mean, if you want to be blunt about it, you say genuine.
Absolutely.
That's right.
Absolutely.
Donna, your thoughts? Does this matter at this point? Because there's no surprise in this package.
Look, whether it's the Central Park Five, the fact that his family was investigated for housing discrimination, or comments that he's made just in recent days, calling himself a nationalist. The president has shown so much incivility, so much intolerance that I try to ignore that and focus on the fact that we have to talk to young people. They don't want to hear this anyway. We got to talk to them about issues that matter to them.
He's pulling 8% in the African American community.
And I haven't figured out exactly
how much further down
are.
I mean, it's pretty low statistically.
Well, it's a low statistic, but remember, that probably is more slanted towards African American men than women, because African American women have made it very clear, going back to the summer, where they stand when it comes to Trump and Republicans, which is a big problem, I think, going into Tuesday. It's an undercounted vote. It is not fully appreciated the impact it can have in swing districts around the country. That's the vote to watch on Tuesday night, from my estimation, how black women come out, the degree that they come out, and where they put that vote.
I hope young people vote.
And
I'm going to be a little sarcastic now.
Because African-American
you got time to wait in a Starbucks line. You got time to wait to vote.
Absolutely.
I mean, there's a lot of young people. I know they're busy with classes 10 hours a week. I know it's overwhelming, but I'm just kidding. You can find a couple minutes to vote. I don't know why you don't want to vote. And this rally last night, Trump, were you going to say something?
I was just going to say that's what the early voting is telling us. I mean, we know older people tend to cast their ballots early anyway, but, we're seeing some signs here that we should be a little alarmed, and that, just like every previous election, that the millennials are going to disappoint.
Hey there, I'm Chris Hayes from MSNBC. Thanks for watching MSNBC on YouTube. If you want to keep up to date with the videos we're putting out, you can click subscribe just below me, or click over on this list to see lots of other great videos.